Well, as anticipated, the Focke-Wulf did not disappoint today. We had a pretty good day with it. It flew well. It handled well on the ground.
Yep. It looked beautiful in the air.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Caught a lot of attention.
As dumb as this sounds, it looked really good on the runway.
Once that thing
it had a presence
well, the
about it.
scale landing gear just makes the plane when you get it
We
out
got
there.
a lot of comments today just by the way it was squatted on the ground like a Focke-Wulf does, high in the nose, but just beefy looking.
Yep.
Well, let's jump to the 5x5 review. We could talk all day without getting anywhere, couldn't we?
Go for it.
All right, build as advertised, 5 out of 5. You and I both built this, Kurt, and it went together and snapped.
Yeah, we had a receiver-ready version, dropped it in, dropped the battery in, and it was ready to go.
Yeah,
so.
about the most troubling part you had was shoving those carbon fiber tubes in for the guns.
Yeah, which, if that's your only challenge, you can't,
All right, finished 4.5 out of 5. Now, this scored high for a foamy. And
there's a ton of detail on it.
Looking at it, they did an outstanding job in capturing the look of a... They didn't compromise on anything to make it fly. You know, usually every model's got to compromise a little
From
here
the
and
warnings and the trim tabs to, I mean, just so many little tiny scale effects.
The paint job, the landing gear was beautiful. We were really impressed with that. So, power, 4.5 out of 5.
Yep.
Now, we had a 3-blade prop on there.
I think this is the right combination when it comes to, and I've flown Focke-Wulfs before, foam Focke-Wulfs before, and it didn't really have that impressive an experience.
Usually it's a balance issue with those.
It's a balance issue, and then a stall issue, the way they come in without flaps, typically the way you don't have flaps on them. This having the flaps helped tremendously. Yeah. So, you know, the power, though, with a three-blade prop and the engine they have on here, was a great combination.
Yeah.
You felt very muscular in the air. Once you hit the throttle, it really surged forward and immediately responded to what you were doing. Very effective.
Ground handling, 5 out of 5.
It's fantastic. Can't say enough about the gear as far as how it handles the actual touchdown, and with the flaps down, how it handled ground effect.
Yeah.
It was an absolute kitten on the ground.
Yeah.
When you came in and got into the ground effect, it just settled right into a nice pocket.
Takeoff was the same way. It was straight.
Takeoff was the same way.
Yep.
Yep. Hold a little bit of up elevator just to keep that tail punched down because it's a very light tail, so you're going to want to hold a little bit of up elevator, and you're ready to go.
All right. Now, durability, speaking of the landing gear, we gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and the landing gear is one of the main reasons we did. We did have a landing gear failure today, not on the retrack itself, but...
and the failure was due to impact.
It was.
We were dealing with crosswind, and I think the big takeaway there is the way the landing gear is made. It's very long, it's very skinny, with very tall, skinny wheels, and it's plastic. It's all plastic components, so you're going to have to be mindful of the fact that you've got an incredibly diverse, incredibly scale trimmed out platform that performs really well, but it was a very inexpensive foam plane by comparison. You're not talking about a build-up plane or
fiberglass fuse build-up wings.
No, not at all. I mean, it's not. This isn't a 60-inch Focke-Wulf with all the details, but it has all the details of a larger plane. So that landing gear is going to be a little bit of an attention grabber when it comes to coming in at heavy crosswind landings. You can pull that tail around and pull out of the crab and touch it down, but you're so light in the rear end, you lose all tail authority. So what it wants to do immediately is kind of do the skid. And as soon as it starts to do the skid into the crosswind again, that's when your landing gear has a high potential of failing. It doesn't handle that lateral pressure very well on the landing gear.
It broke in an odd spot.
Very odd spot.
I mean, when you see how it came in, okay, it kind of makes sense that that's where it broke, but it came in pretty hard. When it started skidding, it was doing a lot of
hopping and skid.
Lateral hop, sideways hopping, and I would have guessed that the gear itself would have failed, collapsed, pulled in.
It didn't. Stayed up.
We didn't even know that we had a gear failure until you pulled it up for the final and the wheel's sitting there crooked. You're like, what is this?
Pulled it up for the final shot and then picked it up off the ground and it slipped out.
You taxied back.
It came back home, but
yes,
it was broken. But that would be the weak link on this.
I think so. Yeah, you just got to watch how you land it. You know,
don't
hard
slam
lateral
on the ground.
Forces.
And hard lateral crosswinds.
Flight is advertised, 5 out of 5.
It flew beautifully.
It did. It looked good. It sounded good with that 3-blade prop.
I can't say enough about the effectiveness of the design itself and the way it was translated into a scale foam RC model. It was slippery in the air, which was nice. It didn't feel like it had a whole lot of drag. And that power plant combined with the airframe, combined with the flaps, the flight experience was really top-notch. It was a very, very good flight experience.
I'm beginning to think you like this plane a lot, Kurt. Flight time, 4.5 out of 5. It's scoring really good.
It did. And it was funny because we talked about it, and it flew well. And you really don't know until you sit down and go through point by point by point. And then it really starts to flush out the really good planes or the stronger planes from the weaker ones. And this scored high in many categories.
And,
so,
you know, like we've said before, we're not comparing this to any other plane.
No, not at all.
We're comparing it to itself.
What are we on, flight time?
We're on flight time. We got 8 minutes plus.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Very efficient power plant. And that's with the 1,800 milliamp battery pack.
Exactly. Which we both kind of said, man, 1,800. Why in the world is there an 1,800 in this?
It was fine. You'll get great 8-10 minute flight times if you're not too far into the throttle. And you can fly it at half throttle all day.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the big key right there.
Yep.
Field size, I would say fly at a flying field.
Yeah, this really is a flying field plane. It's larger, a little bit larger. It's park flyer-ish size.
But this thing got up and boogied pretty good.
It did. It got up and
I was
scooted.
afraid with it. Well, I wasn't afraid. With a 3-blade prop, traditionally you get a lot of thrust, but your high end's not always there.
Yep,
you
exactly.
know? And that wasn't the case with this plane. You got the thrust, but when you had that gear up and you went through a high-speed pass, you were moving along. I mean, I don't know. I would guess, I'd have to guess in the 50-60 range.
Yeah. I'd say we were doing
Probably.
high 60s. Yep, mid to high 60s.
It moved along good, and it looked good doing it.
It did.
It just looked good doing it.
It clearly looked good, man.
Portability, 3.5 out of 5. I'd say the
yeah.
scale detail kind of gives it a little bit of a hit there.
Scale details make it a little more sensitive to yank around. So you're not going to want to toss it in the back of a car and not pay attention to where the landing gear's hanging out.
Exactly.
And stuff,
Skill level, intermediate.
yeah, it's an intermediate plane with flaps and with retracts.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of beginners think, oh, I want full house, I want full boat, you know, everything.
It's a lot to think about.
It's
when
a
you're
lot
out
to keep
there.
track of when you're flying. So just from that perspective, as a beginner, the flight characteristics, I would say this is a good beginner low wing.
Yeah.
In terms of its handling.
With a buddy box.
Yeah, no, I mean somebody that's graduating from a high wing into the low wing space. You're not going to have really bad slip tendencies with it. It held its line pretty well, and you know, it's going to behave as a low wing 4-channel plane.
Yeah.
If you can think you can get your head around the retracts and the flaps without forgetting about them or hitting them at the wrong time, you'll do fine as an intermediate for sure, but as a beginner transitioning.
All right, well that wraps it up.
That finishes our review of the Flyzone Focke-Wulf. You can go to our website and take a look at the full review at tobefly.com, or for our mobile users, you can go to rcflightsource.com and download the app, and then you have all of our news, tools, reviews, and some exclusive content on your mobile phone. I'm Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby.
And I'm Rob. Thanks for watching.